This video is sponsored by Established Titles. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. People can buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land so that they can call themselves a lord or lady. Established Titles is committed to planting a tree with every order and work with global charities, One Tree Planted, and Trees for the Future. This makes it a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping natural reforestation efforts. Title packs will give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest. Your certificate features a unique plot number with which you can see the exact location of your land. You could then officially change your name to Lord or Lady and get it on your credit card, plane tickets, or dating profiles. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot within a few minutes of walking distance. Depending on how many of you want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our little nighttime spooks kingdom. It makes an amazing last-minute gift. Established Titles is actually running a massive Black Friday sale right now. Plus, if you use the code SPOOKS10, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/spooks10 to get your gifts now and help support the channel. This happened when I was about 13 years old. I remember that year for Thanksgiving, we were going to be having it at our house. People were going to start coming over in the afternoon, and my parents were up late preparing food the night before, and my sister and I were helping clean the house. We had a 2-story house, and all of the bedrooms were upstairs. Downstairs was the main living room, the kitchen, dining room, and a few others. Our house was sort of big, and it was a good place to have a bunch of people over. I remember that before going to bed, my parents mentioned how they had to get up early to get more foods ready for the day. After we had all gone to bed, and the next morning came, I was woken up by my mom. She told me that both her and my dad were going to go to the store quick to buy a couple of last-minute ingredients that they hadn't realized they were out of. I was really groggy from my sleep and being interrupted. It must have been like 7 a.m. or so. I remember my mom saying she just wanted to let me know, and they would be back soon, then she left. I instantly turned over and fell back asleep. Probably like 30 minutes later or so, my alarm went off and I woke up. I was a little bit more rested and awake now. I got out of bed and into the hallway to use the bathroom. When I did, I noticed that my sister's bedroom door was open and she didn't appear to be inside of it. I could sort of hear the TV playing downstairs and I figured that she was already up. I used the bathroom and then went downstairs. It was clean and the sunlight lit up most of the space. In the living room, the TV was playing and on the Thanksgiving Day parade. I looked around for my sister, but she was nowhere to be seen. I went into the kitchen, but she wasn't there either. I guess maybe she had gone with my parents to the store, and I returned to the living room towards the couch. Then I heard a noise. It sounded like a whisper. I got really startled, and then I heard it again. It was my sister's voice, and it sounded like she was behind the couch. I looked behind it and saw her. She was all crouched up into almost a ball and looked terrified. She just whispered to me that there was a man in the house and told me to hide. I quickly went behind a sort of lazy boy chair that was next to the couch in the living room. I whispered to my sister, asking where the man was. She said she didn't know, but when she came downstairs, she saw a guy in the kitchen. Just then, we both heard a noise. It was coming from the hallway near the front door. I looked out from behind the chair I was hiding behind, and I saw a guy walking into the living room. He was tall and wore a black sweatshirt. He also had on a hat, but I didn't get a good look at his face. I quickly but quietly tried to move back behind the chair so that the guy couldn't see me. I heard him walk around the living room and the footsteps got closer. They came within maybe 15 feet of where my sister and I were hiding. I was terrified and my heart felt like it was going to beat out of my chest. It's a good thing the TV was playing, or I feel like the man would have definitely heard us. I heard him walk farther away and seemingly into the kitchen. The kitchen was farther away from the front door. I felt like maybe my sister and I could get away if the man was in there. I whispered to my sister and told her to follow me. We counted to 3 and then got out and ran as fast and also as quietly as we could to the front door. The area the man was in the kitchen was sort of blocked off from seeing us. We didn't look back to see if he heard us or saw us. When we made it to the front door, I unlocked it and opened it as fast as I could. Then we both rushed out the door and into the driveway. Right after we got outside, we saw our parents' car driving down the street and pulling in. It was great to see, and we both ran out to them. They barely had a chance to get in the driveway and seemed really confused to see us running out of the house. We got inside the back seats of the car and told them about seeing a guy inside the house. They ended up calling the police from the car as we sat in the driveway. We drove down the street a little ways because my sister didn't feel safe even being in the driveway. The police showed up pretty quickly. When they did, they entered the house and emerged roughly 10 minutes later with the man. It was a huge relief to see that he was caught. Apparently, they found him hiding upstairs in my bedroom closet. That part of it really freaked me out. I'm so glad that I got up when I did. I guess when my parents left, they forgot to lock the door that led from the garage to the house because the front door was locked when I went outside and the door to the garage wasn't. But how the guy got inside our garage in the first place, we never really found out. About 5 years ago, we were hosting Thanksgiving at our house. It was my wife, our 2 kids, and me who lived there. Our kids were pretty little at the time, and we were expecting about 20 or more people for Thanksgiving dinner, pretty much all of them being family members. Our house is in a neighborhood with a little bit more land. I would say most properties have roughly 5 acres or so, and it's a nice and quiet place to live. On Thanksgiving, our guests started arriving at about 1 p.m. or so. We were going to have dinner at like 4 or 5, so we had some snacks out and things like that. More and more people were arriving, and pretty soon, almost everybody, if not everybody, was there. I was helping out and getting food ready, also talking to family and watching football. At one point, there was a knock on our front door, and I went to go answer it to let whoever was there in. But when I got to the door, no one was there. I stepped outside and looked around. Our driveway was full of cars, and there were even some cars parked out in the street in front of the house, but I didn't see anybody. I hadn't taken all that long to get to the door either. I asked if anybody was there, but still got nothing, so I just went back inside after that. Before long, all of the people that we were expecting were there, but once again, after this, I heard another knock on the door again. When I went to answer it, there was nobody there. Now I was a little bit confused, but with everything going on, I quickly forgot about it. About an hour later, some of the kids that were there, as well as a few adults, wanted to go out and play some football. It was pretty good weather, a little chilly, but not too cold at all. I went to the closet right in front of our front door to get my coat, and when I opened up the door, I saw a woman, but not anybody that I knew. It was like she was hiding in there, and she had on a winter hat and looked at me with an angry face. I was sort of in shock, and just stood there for a moment, unable to speak. The woman then emerged from the closet and ran past me, headed upstairs, which was only a couple of feet away. She ran out of there so fast. Nobody else really saw this, and I went around asking if anybody knew who she was. Pretty soon, everybody at the gathering was talking about who this woman could be. Thankfully, nobody was upstairs when she ran up. Not anybody there knew her, and I took a couple of steps up the stairs and yelled, asking who she was and why she was in our house. She didn't answer, though. I told her that she needed to come down and leave out the front door or I was going to call the police. Still nothing, so that's exactly what I did. I stayed by the stairs in case the woman was going to come back down and made sure that nobody else went up or anything like that. For the most part, everybody stayed away from that part of the house and in the living room, dining room, and kitchen. About 10 minutes later, the police arrived. When they did, I told them what had happened and they went upstairs. They were up there for a while, and when they came back down, they said that the woman was no longer there and they thought she had jumped out of a window. I went upstairs and saw that a window in one of the bedrooms was wide open. The police guessed that she jumped out. The distance to the ground in that area was really not all that high, and it was a doable jump. The police went outside and searched the property a bit. We had a large yard with a bit of a woods, but unfortunately, they never found her. They left, and we went back to our Thanksgiving get-together. Thankfully, we never did see the woman again. I've always wondered, though, who she was and what she was doing. This happened just last year. It was Thanksgiving. The family gathering was at my aunt and uncle's. My wife and I live across town, about 20 minutes away from their house. It's a pretty nice place, and we were there hanging out with family and had a turkey dinner. We were planning to go Black Friday shopping early the next morning, so at about 9 p.m. we left to go home. We said our goodbyes and then walked out of the house into the driveway. They had a pretty big driveway. It was big enough for everybody's car to fit in it. When we backed out, though, we noticed that there was a car parked on the side of the road right in front. Now, this was a little bit strange, because it was a dirt road and not all that wide. I remember I even made a comment to my wife about it as we backed out. Right when we had gotten into the street, we noticed the lights to the car turn on and the engine start up. It was a smaller looking car that seemed to be dark in color. When we drove off down the street, the car drove behind us. Like I said, it took about 20 minutes to get back home, and there were a number of turns and different roads to go on. The entire drive, the car stayed behind us. We were wondering who this could be. Was it somebody we knew? I didn't think so. I didn't recognize the car, plus, why would they follow us home without letting us know? But who would do this? We got all the way back home, and I pulled into our driveway. The car did the same, but stopped at the far end. Now I was kind of concerned by this. I got out of the car and looked down to the car at the end of the driveway. I could see inside of it for the first time, and there appeared to be a man in the driver's seat. When I was standing in the driveway facing him, the guy shut off his car and got out as well. I saw he was sort of skinny, wearing a red shirt, black pants, and a hat. He immediately started yelling at me and seemed really angry, but I really couldn't tell exactly what he was saying. It seemed like he was just kind of yelling stuff. I asked the guy what he wanted, but he really didn't answer. He just kept yelling. He was standing by his car for the most part, but took a couple of steps closer to me. I warned the guy that I was going to call the police. At first, he didn't seem to care, but within a few seconds, he stopped and then got back inside of his car and started the engine. My wife and I walked inside after that as we saw him driving away. We both got inside, but no more than 5 minutes later, there was a banging at the front door. It was loud and aggressive. I looked out the front window and saw that the same guy was now back. I surely was not going to open the door to him. He kept banging on the door and then tried opening it. I didn't hesitate and called 911. The man was persistent and kept banging on the door and trying to open it, and eventually he moved to the back of the house and started banging on random windows. He also tried getting in the back door, which also was locked, thankfully. I was getting concerned that he would be able to break in until finally the police arrived. They were able to find the man pretty quickly. I never knew where the guy came from though, why he followed us home, or what he wanted.